This is Paul Brooker, and you're listening to the Fulham Focus podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Fulham Focus podcast. Well, we knew what this game meant, win or bust in my opinion, and my God, what a performance. An Anderson debut, a clean sheet, a Bobby Scordova sequel, a wonder goal from BrAina, and we're out of the relegation zone. A long season to go, no doubt, but long-term thinking isn't how football works sometimes, and tonight I shall be joining two of the best people to celebrate. With me is the American dream Donald Love, whilst hopefully another American nightmare called Donald pisses off tomorrow night, and the tea-sniffing, curry-guzzling, beard-conquering maniac that is Matt Domm. Let's do this.
Fulham.
Guys, our first win, 17th, out of the relegation zone, 3 points behind Manchester United. Not that it really means anything at the moment, but I'd just like your general thoughts about this performance and this result. I'll go to you first, Mr. Donald. So how are you and what are your thoughts?
I'm doing really well, and I'm doing even better. 3 points in the bag, and we're out of the relegation zone. So how can you be any happier than that, other than we should have been doing this 3-4 games ago, sadly.
Yeah. I feel like we should probably have maybe 6. I feel like we should have probably won some of the games we played recently, and it should be maybe a few more points in the board. But it's good, better late than never, right? And it's a nice way to, we've got lockdown over here in the UK, and it's made a nice sort of glimmer of hope for this upcoming season that we've got. And mate, Matt Domm, what are your thoughts on this, mate? Just your opening thoughts before we talk about the lineup, mate.
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on that game, wasn't there? We were all saying we have to win. You have to beat the teams that are likely to be beneath you or have got to be below you by the end of the season. You've got to beat them at home. Simple as that. And we did. So yeah, absolutely delighted. And it gives us everyone a bit of breathing room, I think.
Yeah, everyone was saying it was some people saying too early to call it a 6-pointer, but it absolutely felt like it was. And we came on top. I mean, if anything, I do think that West Brom probably are going to be the worst side this season. I can't really see them staying up. I thought we absolutely dominated them throughout the entire game, if I'm honest. But, I mean, it's not to take away our victory. We played magnificently throughout. And let's start with the lineup then. A couple of changes for this one. We had Anderson's debut, which we weren't expecting. We thought he was going to be out for a couple more weeks, although we did hear that he was recovering. He is now a right-sided centre-back, it appears, which I wasn't expecting. I thought he would play on the left. You had Bobby as a right winger for Cavallero, and you had Lamina and Anguissa in that double pivot that I love to bang on about so much. What were your thoughts on the lineup when you saw it, Don?
Yeah, I thought it was a good, interesting lineup. Some tough choices had to be made, and I think Scotty, made those choices for better or for worse, whether people liked them or not. Correct me if I'm wrong. The only two people that were in the lineup from the original, championship, first time we get promoted to the Premier League was Mitrovic and Tom. Everybody else was out. It was all new players, right? So Bobby Decker-Reed on, that was a good call. Cav off. I didn't think Cav was doing a whole lot the last couple of games, so BDR on, no problem with that. Was really surprised, and I'll be interested to hear what Matt Domm thinks about this. Really surprised that Loftus-Cheek was not on the pitch. I didn't quite get that, but again, it sounds like it was a good call for this particular game. Maybe in a different game, he goes back with Loftus-Cheek. So, Dom, were you surprised he was out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his debut for about 60 minutes, I thought he was excellent. And then he was terrible against Palace when he was played on the right. Yeah, I was surprised because, I mean, you would think he's probably the, top 2 or 3 players that we've got in the squad, really. So you'd expect him to start most games. It was brave not to play him, but it worked. And I think potentially he can rotate with Tom Cairney in that number 10 role, attacking direct number 10 role, which was great to see. And definitely don't play him on the right. But Bobby he earned his place today. I think he was well worth his goal and his performance. So yeah, very surprised, but it worked. So fair play.
Yeah. I thought Tom Kenny looked absolutely insane in this game. I thought he was electric. But I mean, I can understand. In my opinion, Ruben Loftus-Cheek on the bench. I mean, arguably, you could say, why are we putting some of our best players on the bench? But it made the bench more interesting for us to turn to if we needed a bit of electricity to come on front with. I thought that basically having Ruben Loftus-Cheek on the bench gave us more of an option to change a game. Don, what were your thoughts about Tim Ream being missing? We all knew it was coming, but just your thoughts of him being out for Adebayo and obviously with Anderson coming in.
Well, as an American, I totally want to see the Americans play as much as possible. I know a lot of people give Ream stick, oh, why is he ever on the team? Oh, he's the worst. But, for me, if you look at everything he's done over the years, anytime anything went really south and really shitty, Ream was brought back in and things seemed to steady up there fairly well. So he's had, I forget how many partners, 6 different partners over the years, 7 different partners over the years. And he's kind of become the consistency. So again, like you said, we all knew this day was coming. It's sad for me that he is, probably getting brushed aside now and will, become more of a backup. Anderson, I have to say, though, it was a good choice. He looked really good. I think there was one iffy moment in the first half. He kind of made me look scared and nervous. But for the most part, I thought he had a very solid game. So you can't blame Scotty for bringing on Anderson at all. And as an American, times move on. Now we've got Robinson out on the left-hand side. So thank God there's another American coming through.
Full America lives on. But I think in the first few minutes of the game, so about 3 minutes in, I think Townsend hit the crossbar, which set the alarm bell ringing. But from then on, it was just a decent start from us. Lots of quick, lovely passing. Anderson, as you say, I thought looked very decent. He likes to press it quite high up the pitch, similar to Hector, but does it a bit better. 6 minutes in, we had half a chance from Reed. It came too quick to his feet, almost bounced straight off, and we were quite frustrated with that. But, Lookman looking great. Tom Kenny looking fantastic, as I mentioned before. But what was interesting for me was how good Lamina looked in this game, standing next to Anguissa in that sort of double pivoty thing. And I just want to know, do you think that this is where we won the first half, Dom? And, the battle of the midfield really looked quite in our hands because of this pairing.
Yeah, they looked good, I thought. I was surprised in the last game when Lamina got a start because I couldn't see a way in for him. He seemed to me to come off the bench and just give us a bit of drive forward when we needed it, and he looked like a player who would make an impact from the bench. And then he's starting, and I didn't think he played very well against Palace, but today he was fantastic. In the first half, I think he outshone Anguissa, who was a little bit ropey at times.
He actually, it was because of him. He let his player go right by him. That was actually how Townsend got the crossbar in the 3rd minute. Yeah. And you weren't sure about him in this half.
No.
He was great. In the second half, he was like a wizard with his feet, and obviously that was confidence brewing throughout the team. But yeah, you thought he wasn't at his best this half, did you?
Not first half, no. There was another moment where he gave the ball away and then sort of jogged back, got back into the box, and then got turned inside the box again, and it was a bit, I don't know, it was a bit sluggy, a bit lazy, and a bit more like the player that Bull saw at the start 2 years ago,
18-19, yeah,
and the reputation that he's done so well to shake off, and then he gave, I think it was him who gave the ball away again for the Carlin Grant chance later on in the half. A few dodgy moments, but he really stepped up in the second half. And every time he gets forward, I forget. I don't quite know how he's so effective going forward, but he doesn't lose the ball. He's got step overs. He takes players on, and he just does not look like that kind of player. But
no, he has these moments
in his locker.
Yeah, he had honestly some really messy-ish moments in the second half, in my opinion, as did Tom Kenny. But just talking about this, jumping the gun here, but Harrison Reed came on in the second half. Do you think that's actually a possible reason why Anguissa shone out a lot more in the second half? Because, it's something that Harrison Reed possibly brought to him that made things a lot quicker for Anguissa going forward and making these. Maybe it was the fact we were 2-0 up. I'm not sure. Don, what were your thoughts on Anguissa in the first half compared to the second, and your general thoughts on him so far, mate?
For me, And this is where I think people like Will Oakley and different ones who put him up on a pedestal and admire him, want to shine his boots every minute they can.
And me as well. I'm in that bracket.
Okay, well, I'm in the opposite side. He frustrates the hell out of me so many times. There are moments, like you say, where, oh my Lord, he gets the ball at his feet and he just boom, boom, boom through 3-4 people. It's almost to the point, though, where he doesn't know what he's going to do at the end, but he stumbles through. But then there are other points, like you guys were talking about earlier, in the very first minutes of the game. He just lets the player go right by him. I mean, he just stood there and it was like, whatever. And that's how the crossbar got hit. The second one, it was a bad pass. I think from Anderson, he should have been more aware what was around Anguissa. He puts the ball out there and Anguissa very lazily, is waiting for it and doesn't step towards it or anything. West Brom player comes in from behind, nicks the ball, gets a nice little poke on it, puts it forward for the striker, and he gets a chance. Thank God, goes a little bit wide. So there are times where Anguissa does look lazy still, and you can almost see that person from way back when he was first with us that people were very frustrated with. But then he turns around and gets the ball at his feet. Like you said, he does something very Messi-esque and gets through 2-3 people and maybe gets a chance or makes something happen. So
yeah,
for me, he's very frustrating. There's not a consistent player there for me.
I think we meant Messi rather than Lionel Messi, right?
No, I mean,
it depends on how you want to spell it.
He's a Messi. He's a Messi sometimes, isn't he? It's I get what you mean. Is he can be frustrating, but I think he's been probably our best, most consistent player this season. Just because of how dominant he's been in midfield to win the ball and take players on and get us forward from defence. That's what I really like about him. He drives us forward, and that's what we've really missed that at times.
Yeah.
Certainly last season we missed that a lot.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'd take him over Onima. Every time. So
he's a better Onima, isn't he?
I do. I think he is. So
look,
don't get me wrong. I'm not totally putting him down. I'm just saying he can be really frustrating.
Of course he can. But he plays for Fulham, and I suppose that's
it, mate. You just said it.
Is that one of the 4 boxes he has to check in order to be part of the first team? Yep, you've checked the box. You're frustrating.
It's the boxes that drop him down to Fulham's level and not Champions League level.
But look, let's press on. Lamina was a fantastic counterpart to Anguissa this game, and Reed certainly was in the second half for him as well. But we're talking about who frustrates you. Now, Bobby Reed is someone who obviously frustrates a lot of us, especially on the WhatsApp group, or like everyone's WhatsApp group, probably, that are Fulham fans. And, in the 25th minute, very wasteful. He makes a breakaway, and instead of making a pass to Mitro, we don't know what would have happened, but he takes a shot from far out. And you just feel like it's just one of those classic moments like that. You just think, Bobby fucking Reed! And just, you get very frustrated. And it's just the same old story, and you feel like he's the nearly man, all that kind of thing. Then in the 26th minute, he scores a header. In fact, I'm not going to tell you. Dom, talk to me about this goal, because Bobby Reed is now, I believe, our joint top scorer this season. I mean, it's great for him.
This is one of those times where you have to think, or you hope, that Scotty went to the team and, like he said in his press conference, and said, take more chances, be more creative, go at them more. We don't need to sit back and keep passing the ball constantly and have the total amount of possession. Actually, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we had less possession in this game than our other games.
I think it was 46%. Is that right, Matt Dom? I think you said it in the group.
I had it somewhere. So I love that we had less possession. That's all I'm going to say, is that what we did with our possession was much better than just knocking it around. So yeah, going back to that first goal, you had a great ball that was put in again by Robinson. I've totally come to love him out on the right-hand side, especially playing and hooking up with Lookman in front of him. I think that's really working well. But Robinson gets the ball, puts a beautiful cross in, floats more towards the back corner. Mitro does what Mitro does best. He gets up there, giant leap. Very unselfish, not taking the ball and putting it in goal or trying to go for goal himself. Instead, having that knowledge, that sight to see BDR's on the other side. Nice little header across the box. BDR's right there. Cheers out to Morgan, one of Morgan's kind of people, not the tallest guy in the world, but he gets up there and gets the job done. So
yeah,
I'm sure Morgan was thinking, there's a hero for me to look up to. It was a good, strong header, though. Good, strong header.
It was. I thought it was. What were your thoughts of the goal, Dom, mate? Were you just sort of you went from 0 to hero pretty quickly, like you usually do?
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I like Bobby. I think he puts a lot of effort in. He's difficult to defend against. He runs. He makes himself busy, and it doesn't always work for him. But usually, when he plays, he'll get a large chunk of our chances, and I think that's just because he is good at finding space, and he drives forward, and he's good up alongside Mitrovic. And I think because he was playing there today, his instinct was not to play on the right wing, but to push up alongside Mitro. And yeah, and that the assist for Mitro is fantastic. I wonder if he's his confidence has been knocked a little bit because the last 2 games he hasn't been very good. I wonder if 2 games ago he might go for goal there. This time he thinks it hasn't been my day recently. I'll nod this on and see what happens. And it was the right decision in the end.
Maybe he's trying to play out of bad form by just being a lot less selfish and trying to give it to other people. Alexander Sistovic, really. I mean, he made 2 assists this game, and but also, I mean, so 6 minutes later, 4 minutes later, you've got another 0 to hero moment because I was just thinking how frustrating I was finding Aina at crossing, and then just a beautiful assist from Alexander Mitchell. Just a lovely pass back to him. And he scores an absolute bullet screamer. It was just one of the... I didn't think it was going in. It just absolutely... I mean, we always do this in the Premier League. We managed to find some ways of just having these top bin moments. If it's Schürrle, if it's... God, I've forgotten his name. Seri. But now it's and that's it. And I just couldn't be happier for the guy, to be honest. Don, what were your thoughts about this one, mate? I thought it was really... I mean... arguably maybe the best goal we scored this season. I don't know.
Well, again, it's one of these things where we get the ball and instead of us just knocking it back and then going sideways, if you remember, Aina receives the ball, he takes a chance and he actually tried to put it past the defender on the outside. He got lucky. It nicks the defender a little bit, but he makes it through. And I believe it was received by BDR, wasn't it? Yeah. So again, Bobby was out there floating it goes through to BDR. BDR turns around and puts it across. He does a square pass.
Then it comes off Mitrovic.
So this is really good. And this is where I'm going to go back to Bobby just for a minute. Bobby was a floating player today, and you saw him everywhere. I saw him in defending several times. I saw him up in the attack, so good for him. But he receives that ball, does a quick square pass, and this is where Mitro, a lot of people have been down on Mitro, okay, that all he's good for is headers, always good for his headers. Well, he proved in this game he has more to himself than just, being that tall guy who can get up high and put a header in the box. He's got the vision to still hold up the ball and do things. He looks around, sees a quick square, one-touch pass, lays it off, Aina's back in and scores. So, I mean, got to give Mitro their credit too, okay? He's more than just a guy who's jumping up and giving headers. He had the vision to see what was around him. He lays the ball off. One touch, in fact, we get a goal. A beautiful finish too. Absolutely beautiful finish.
Couldn't agree more, mate. I mean, what are your thoughts, Dom, mate? Go on.
Yeah, I mean, Mitro was that kind of player under Slav. I think he's definitely always had that ability, that close control, and he can head it, he can chest it, he can pass it, but he needs support. He's no good. We saw against Palace and other games earlier in the season to a certain extent. He drops deeper and deeper and deeper when hasn't got the support. And he's no good 40 yards from goal. He's great on the edge of the box. He's great in the box. But Bobby Reid and Aina today, he's got a player to get it back to. And you see what happens if you attack quicker. You don't hold the ball so long, and you do something with it. It's amazing what Scott Parker talked about that before the game, didn't he? He said we need to play, we need to attack faster, we need to get more bodies in the box, and he was saying the right things, and I was thinking, well, fair enough, we can all see that, but is it going to translate? And it did, and we had players in the box with chances, and we created a lot of chances. Bobby Reid could have had a goal later on. He could have had a hat-trick today, and they weren't all falling to Mitro this time. That's the difference, and it was really good to see.
well,
dynamic attacking football.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, arguably Mitro could have had a goal if that penalty was awarded. I mean, I've seen about that handball. I mean, I swear to God, I've seen VAR give that sort of goal away before. Have I not?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah, I'm just a bit disappointed in that decision,
I think they maybe changed the rule. I can't remember. There was
that's handy.
At the start of the season, it was like.
Do you hear why I did that, Andy?
I was
well, yeah, didn't they change the rule? The hand had to be in a completely unnatural state. Okay, well, that being said, we've seen it given before where the person brings his hands up, his elbow is slightly out from his body or, right up against his body and it hits the elbow, handball's given. Even the commentators here in America were saying, that that was definitely a handball. That, if he was a true defender, and knew what he was going to be help prevent himself, he'd have had his hands behind his backs,
He stuck his head out.
Nothing, yeah, and his arms would have been flat out against his hands would have been against behind his back. His arms would have been flat against his body, and there'd be no question. Well, you bring your arms in front, it hits your arm or your elbow. To me, that's handball.
I disagree. If that happens at the other end, and
we'd be
his arm is down by alongside his body, and his elbow's bent, and it hits him. It would have hit his body if his hand wasn't there. Let's face it. And then it still wouldn't have gone in.
Yeah, no.
So I would, if that would happen the other end and that gets given against us, I'm furious. So I'm fine with it. I don't think it was. He should have scored. But let's
that's it.
Let's say he's left or right of the defender.
Absolutely.
He should score the goal, and we wouldn't be worrying about it. But I don't think you give that.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, bottom line, if he'd have been a real striker, he and just not panicked in the moment and taken the shot, settled the ball, take a touch, put it in a corner, you're done.
Maybe he's rifled at a goal. The defender's just in the right place at the right time. I think, he could have put it left or right. A better striker probably takes a bit more time about it, but he's put it on target at least.
yeah, exactly. And let's not take anything away from him. He was brilliant this game. And as you say, Don, he's a floater. I thought the tactics were really spot on this game. He started off on the right, but he would eventually sort of join in as to being a sort of striker alongside Mitrovic. It was very clever. I also noticed that we almost looked like a 4-4-2 off the ball at times. We had like Kearney and Mitra pressing really high up the top of the pitch. And I just want to talk about Tom Kearney this game. Now, when we saw him in the lineup, I was almost sure that he was going to be with Anguissa in this sort of this new role he's found as a sort of box to boxy sort of character with bit of defensive, has more time on the ball, distributes the play and that kind of thing. But he's in the number 10 role, the old Tom Kearney role that we all love him in, and he was fucking brilliant. And I wasn't expecting it at all. I thought it would be a frustrating game for him, and we come off saying, well, never again is he playing in that position. But, I mean, Tom Kearney, I thought, had an electric game for us. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Love?
This is a Tom that we're not used to seeing. If you remember, he was putting in some good tackles. He stuck a foot in right several places. At that one part of the match, he goes in and gets his foot in, gets the ball off the defender and gets around the defender and takes off for the byline and gets it down there towards the end of the box and puts a nice ball across. So yeah, it's definitely a different Tom. And it's a Tom that we hope he's building his confidence up, at this level. And he's ready to show, hey, pardon my French, but fuck all you non-believers. I'm here to play, and I'm going to play, at the best that I can, and I'm going to make things happen. So I'm glad Tom's playing like he is. And like you said, it was really interesting to see how he and Bobby played, because it was more of a supporting role to Mitro rather than Mitro just being isolated. And I think that was a key difference in this match. You didn't just see Mitro up there trying to hold the ball up or make things happen on his own. You had a lot of players, including, I saw Anguissa in there at times, Lookman in there at times. Even Robinson was in there several times, where they were able to play the ball to Mitro or Mitro to them, and it was back and forth. So hopefully this is the beginning of a new style of play that Scotty's got him playing and going forward with.
I hope so. And that's the thing. That's what I'm worrying about, because this was sort of like a championship game, and I don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves thinking that now Tom Kearney's going to just, be this amazing number 10 again, and it's all going to be back to the glory days of when we were in the championship. But I know what you're saying. I understand, and I feel like it's a really good opportunity for Tom to build on this. Now, let's just quickly talk. I mean, Joachim Andersen's debut, I don't really have much to say about him other than he was there and he was brilliant. I thought some of his passing looked really slick. He's good. His injury is recovered really quickly, but there's nothing much to say other than him and I can never say it. Sorry, Adarabioyo. Help me, someone. Tosin. But what's how do I say that?
That's the one.
Yeah. I could usually say it fine. It's really embarrassing. Adarabioyo. There you go. It just not really much to say because I thought they just looked solid as a rock during this game. Wouldn't you say, Dom? Matt, Dom?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I liked that he wasn't afraid to just defend.
Yeah.
And I think when you compare him to Ream is a sort of defender who he reads the game well, and he likes to have a bit of time to play football, and that works in certain styles. In a possession-based game, it works. But in this league, when other teams have got better players, he gets found out quite a lot because I think he needs too much time on the ball. Andersen, there was lots of times today he just won the ball, got rid, found a midfielder quickly, or even put it into into the stands because that's the option that was on, and I like to see that.
Really, yeah.
He was excellent. I really thought he was excellent. He was shouting all the time. He was organised.
The communication, was fantastic. I noticed that too. But also go on, man.
He had he's only 24, but he had a slightly younger player, a less experienced player, shall we say, alongside him in Adarabioyo. And he marshalled them fantastically. That back four, and I haven't necessarily been impressed by BrAina so far. He's improved. He's looking better. And that back five, I thought, were really comfortable today. And yeah, it was a championship game, but they came second last year.
Well,
they beat a lot of teams comfortably last year, and they've got some threatening players. Pereira is one, and we didn't really give them a sniff apart from the few mistakes we made. Otherwise, it was a really good defensive performance, and Andersen, I think, brought us up a notch.
I've got to say as well, I thought Robertson, had some really nice moves in this game. I mean, he had a lovely breakaway, I think, in the 43rd minute. His crossing, obviously not as good as Brian's, and he obviously favours a low cross. But I thought I think we found our starting left back. I love him now, haven't we? Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? Just fantastic.
He was making runs, gut busting runs on 89th minute. Just bombing up and down the field. The engine on that lad is unbelievable. He's got a Ferrari in his chest, and fair enough. His end product may not quite be there, and he's a different. Brian is much more cross it from deep kind of player.
Yeah.
Whereas Robinson just hits the line and gets back. He's quick. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think he's the best left back we've had for a long, long time, and he looks ready made for this league.
Yeah, man.
I haven't found any fault with him at all so far.
Oh God, don't say that. Don't say that just before.
So far.
Yeah.
So far.
But you know what? At this point, I'm just looking at my notes here. Around, the second half, Reed comes on for Lamina, and I think that's actually a very good move. It brought out better stuff from Anguissa. Reed looks fantastic again, to be honest. In my eye, I thought he had a fantastic game. But 81st minute, you've got the Kearney who open goal, nearly gets it in. Would have been breathtaking if it goes in. Then you've got the handball gate, basically, where Bobby Reed shoots right at the defender. And then the 83rd minute, we're all over them by this point. But the 83rd minute, you've got Cavallero on for Bobby Reed. And in the 89th minute, you've got Lookman on for Brian. And I just want to know your thoughts, Mr. Love, and what Lookman was like this game. He just looks really, really dangerous every time he has the ball. And I remember hearing about him coming. He's been consistently a classed act every game now he's played. And I remember hearing about him from Leipzig and all the rumours of how he played there, that he wasn't particularly at his best in the final season that he played for them. And I was worried that we're just going to have another sort of a dud in our hands who's just trying to get a move to London. But it seems like he is actually really, really effing good,
I think he has started the season out very well for us. Like you said, there have been so many times where he just looked the best player on the field. Now, I will say, I thought in this match, there were times like towards the later part of the first half, I thought he just kind of disappeared. I didn't really see a whole lot from him, which was surprising. I do like that he's not afraid to take the shots. And a lot of people may get frustrated. Oh, he took a shot and it went out wide. I don't mind him taking the shots because as long as he's doing that, there's a good chance that maybe, something happens. It hits a crossbar. The goalie spills it. Mitchell or somebody is there to clean it up. So I don't have a problem with that. And I like that he's taking on players, because it makes the defense question and worried about him. Whereas if we're just having that constant knocking around, we're going out wide and put a cross in, they know what we're doing. You don't know what you've got coming at you with Lookman. And I like that. So keep it on. And like I said before, I really like the combination of him and Robinson. Like you guys said, Robinson has got an engine in him that doesn't stop. Well, the overlapping with Lookman, the constant give and goes, I'm fine with all that. And what I really did like about Robinson also is, unlike Brian, not putting down Brian, I really like Brian as a player. And I think he could do a fine job still. I know a lot of people think he probably, isn't up for it, but I think he's still up for the Premier League. But what I really like about Robinson is he's not afraid to cut inside. He doesn't always go to the outside. There are several times where he beat a player to the inside and he'd make things happen that way. So that left side, I think that's pretty cemented right now as far as the starting 11, as far as I'm concerned. Robinson with Lookman in front of him, I'll do that every time.
Nice. And anything you made out of the subs, Matt Dunn, mate? Like, you got Lookman coming off for Brian. I actually like the idea of Brian coming on in Lookman's position as a sub. I think that's a really nice move from Parker. But also Cavallero on for Bobby. Cavallero's been pretty awful for us as of late, but I think sort of player you'd actually want on for Bobby Reed when you're trying to protect a 2-goal lead, isn't it?
Yeah, he did fine, Cav. He's decent enough at holding onto the ball.
That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's what he probably came on for. Brian, I think we go 5 at the back when he came on? Probably. It's usually Parker's thing, isn't it? A little bit later than normal. I think I may be wrong, but I think Robertson tucked inside after that, but I can't really remember, to be honest. Yeah, the subs were fine. There was no need really to make any earlier. It was working well. Reed, I assume Lamina was injured. But as you say, he kind of brought the best out of Anguissa. I think Anguissa knows that Reed will stay back and he can try and drive us forward. Whereas when it was Lamina, they both like to do that. So it was a bit, we looked stronger in midfield, I think, when Reed came on. And yes, I just want to go back to Lookman a bit. I think he did go missing on occasion, but he kind of is that sort of player, isn't he? Where he'll just get the ball and do something magic with it. And I sort of started to notice that every time he got the ball, there were 3 or 4 defenders around him every time, which must be frustrating for him. But at the same time, I think that's part of the reason why Kearney had such a good game, because he seemed to have a lot of space in that number 10 role in front of their defence. And I think because they were so afraid of Lookman, their focus was on him as the danger man, and then Tom Kearney was allowed to flourish and have, I think, his best game. I can't even remember when he played that well. I don't think he played that well last season. Maybe the very start of last season, but he was excellent. And I think the fact that we've got different options and we've got, we players that can run and players that can pass and players that can win the ball and drive us forward. I think we've got really good balance in that midfield. And it's a difficult prospect for defenders because they've got to deal with a lot of different types of player.
Yeah. And it seems like we're starting to actually fit everyone in quite nicely now. We've overrun with central midfielders, which we technically are. But it was just very nice today to see it work so well and the subs being worked very well. One thing a sub that I was worried about happening, which I want to talk to you about, Mr. Love, was Areola. Now, this is Areola's first clean sheet with us. So it's a big result for him. I think I'm right in saying that. It must be. It's our first clean sheet. Yeah. It's Areola's first clean sheet, so a huge result for him. But I was quite worried that he had a little injury at one point. And throughout the rest, ever since that moment happened, it almost looked like he had a little limp going on. and I just want to know your thoughts on it. Do you think he's a couple of kicks at him? Do you think?
Yeah. I missed if something happened to him. I missed it. It wasn't until the announcers said, "Oh, he pulled up on a taking a kick,"
Right.
and then I noticed there were several times where instead of doing a kick, which you want him to play it out of the back if they can, that he quickly found more quickly, I thought, than normal, somebody that he could roll the ball off to. But there towards the end, I'm thinking he might have walked it off because he put several balls still out on the play. He didn't look like he was limping at the end or hobbling or anything. I never saw him wave to the bench, say, "Hey, I need somebody or I need to be looked at." So I'm not quite sure what the announcers were talking about. At one point, I think it was his right hand, like hamstring or something. He was kind of rubbing it a little bit, but unless there was something drastic that I missed, I think he looked fine. You want to be consistent, so you hope nothing's going on there and that he can continue on into the next game or so. So hopefully nothing. Hopefully nothing.
All right. Hopefully nothing. Well, lads, look, let's I think we've got nothing else to mention other than how delightful this result was for us, other than give us your Parker rating, because this is look, I was just saying to you, Matt Dunn, before we started recording that, if this had been a 2-0 the other way, I think we'd be talking about Parker out right now. That's how fickle I know I am. But I just want to know how fickle you are, so please tell me.
Yeah. I know what you mean. You know me, I've said since we went up that I think we should stick with Parker whatever happens. That said, when you get to 10 games without a win, you sort of I know I would definitely start to, if we'd have lost today, I'd have been very twitchy.
Me too.
Very, very, very twitchy. And I think it would have been really hard to see a way back for him. That's how important it was. And given that, I give him a 9 out of 10 today because,
nice.
Yeah, if it was 4-0, 3-0, maybe it would have been a 10. I don't see anything else he could have done better. His lineup, there was a couple of surprises in there for me. Lamina keeping his place, and obviously Loftus-Cheek missing out, and Anderson, who the other day Scott Parker was saying has just started to basically walk around the training pitch. So to see him start was a massive surprise. Some people thought it could have been a risk if he'd got injured, which it looked like he might have done early on. If he got injured, it could have been a bad decision. But he, like I said, Anderson improved us a lot. He was right to make the subs that he made and not change things when it was working until late on when we just sort of needed the time, really. And he had us playing more attacking, doing more with less of the ball, which is what I think all of us have just been screaming out for this season. And yeah, fantastic from him, a real step up. And yes, it was only West Brom, but that said, they will be looking at that. They'll be coming to Craven Cottage thinking we've got to win this because that's only Fulham. And
of course,
we dominated that game from start to finish. Apart from those couple of mistakes where we could have given away goals, other than that, we weren't troubled whatsoever. And Parker deserves a lot of credit for that performance today.
Well, what I was going to say before, I forgot to mention it in my notes. I was going to say, is there anything you would change, anything that could be improved on this game? And if there really isn't much. As you say, we dominated the game from start to finish, in my opinion. Yes, it's only West Brom, but it was the most important thing for me is that I only feel like the manager needs changing when the players, for one thing, I'm getting pissed off with the results, selfishly, but it's when the players are clearly playing well and not got their heads down. The players looked brilliant today, and they know what they're doing. They know what their roles are. There was no heads down. There wasn't like a sort of a dressing room problem that I could see on the pitch today. That I thought that could be if we had lost this game.
They were fighting. They were getting yellow cards. They were getting stuck in. All the sort of things that doesn't happen if they haven't got faith in their manager. I think they really do. And the fact that Tom Kearney has massively stepped up this season, and even more so today, I think is testament that they're really playing for Scott Parker. And we, even though we've been beaten a lot this season, we haven't really played that badly. And that's what I said in the last pod I was on. While the performances are still there, just about, and we may be losing unluckily or through defensive errors, then I think it's just about working. And we only need 17th, let's face it.
which is where we are now. So let's just cancel the season now. And we can stay up. That'd be great. But no, I completely agree with you, mate. I completely agree. Mr. Don Love, mate, what would your Scott Parker rating be, mate? I'm going to give him a 9 as well.
I'm with Dom. For me, it's a 9. It's not a perfect 10. Because there are still times in the defense where I thought we looked a little shaky. And again, it's just West Brom. So if this had been Man City or somebody, I still think, the defense needs a little bit better improvement. I liked and loved how Anderson was talking a lot more in the back, taking charge, trying to organize things. That's something that I think has been missing. So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, I guess, as far as Parker in or out, compared to Matt Domm. I personally, Matt says, with 12 games in, whatever, if we're still losing, it's time for him to go. And I think you're kind of that way too, Jmac. I don't care where we end up this season. I think we all knew this was going to be a bad season. I'd like to see some consistency with the manager. If we're going to go back down, let Parker go ahead and just keep going with what players he's got, figure out who's going to be leaving at the end of the season and what he's got to bring in to strengthen the team back up. What was the team? Help me out here, Dom. What was the team that was going to go down? They knew they were going to go down. They stuck with the manager anyway. They went down in the championship.
That would be Norwich.
Norwich.
Yeah.
Just let him do what he can do. Support him as best you can. This is a shout out for Tony too. Keep supporting Parker as best you can. Keep him involved as best you can with everything that's going on, and I think we'll be okay. I really do. I thought Parker, like we said earlier, he made some really bold decisions today, and good for him. He talked about how people have got to take chances. We've got to step up. Well, he took a chance today on bringing Bobby, back in, on keeping Cav out. So good for him. He's making these decisions. He left out Loftus-Cheek. Hopefully, Loftus-Cheek is not permanently left out. Hopefully, he still finds his place on the team and plays a very important role. So overall, I'm a stick with Parker kind of guy. I know even things are going to get mad. I'm going to get frustrated probably, when we start playing better teams, but still, I'd like to see some consistency. That's me personally.
Perfect. Go on, Dom.
The thing for me was stick with Parker, but not blindly stick with Parker. We know the players have got to learn and improve, and that goes for him as well. If we were seeing that he was just trying the same thing over and over again that wasn't working, which what we saw against Crystal Palace, if we see that over and over again, then yeah, I think that would have been time. But we saw today that we really stepped up in every area, and as long as that continues, then we need to stick with it, because getting rid of him we just have to start again, and I don't want to see that again.
I agree. You got to see improvements, and I guess what I really like about Parker is, yeah, he can be stubborn, but he has shown several times that he can change things up, okay, and that he's not afraid to take a chance on different things. So I'm glad he stepped up, tried something, and it worked out really well for him. So I'm not just blindly, faithfully saying, lead us into the Holy Land there, Parker, make things happen. He's got to show that things are going to work and that things are going to keep improving. And I think he's doing that personally. And I also think, like as Jmac was saying earlier, he's got the players. The players seem to really like him. And he must be doing something right. Like he talks to Tom, and Tom really has changed his game these last couple of games and really shined today especially. So he must have the players, behind him, and they must really enjoy him being the manager and the head coach. So I hope that just keeps continuing.
Me too. And look, I think we were really rock bottom when we lost 3-0 against Aston Villa and then 3-0 to Brentford. I think since then we had a draw with Sheffield United. Yes, we lost to Crystal Palace 2-1 and it wasn't the best performance, but that we did have some good You've seen improvements since that rock bottom moment, and I feel it's now come to the point where we've won our first game. And as you both say, let's keep going. Hope we can get a result of some kind against West Ham, which we will be previewing in a couple of days' time with myself, Frenchie, and Morgan with a player focus. And one other bit of information, BrAina is the 88th player to score in the Premier League for Fulham and the 147th player to score in the top flight for the club. And it does make you wonder who's going to be the 150th. So something to think out about in these next few games coming up. All right. Thank you very much to my lovely co-host. Thank you to Mr. Don Love. Thank you to Matt Domm. We'll be back, as I said, in a couple of days' time for that preview against West Ham, where hopefully we can get some sort of result against the Hammers. And we will be doing a player focus on top of that as well. It'll be me, myself, Frenchie and Morgan. Bye for now. Stay safe. Thank you.
Fulham.